Let's see. We live? I think we live. I think we're live. Cool. What's going on, y'all? What is good? As you guys can see, it's a packed show today. It is a packed show joined by CPNY Sports, TMS, Aaron, Big Blue Corner, Rodney. How are y'all doing, man? We got a lot to talk about in this video. We're gonna wait for some more people to come in for show, but how are y'all feeling, man?
I feel like Ed Reed when he was with Miami. I'm hurt, dog. I'm hurt. This is just not good.
That's one way to put
Yeah,
it for
man.
sure. That's one way.
It's depressing. It's every word under the sun that you can think of. But at this point, it's been happening so often over the past couple of years that I'm kind of used to at this point. So it is what it is. But we'll definitely get our thoughts and opinions on it. And I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it.
Definitely, 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 man. How you feeling, Rob?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. As far as that game on Sunday and just how the Giants are right now, I'm highly disappointed, but it, it just feels like a really, really low point right now as far as being a fan. A real low point.
Yeah, nah, definitely. Especially when you're 2-6, it's gonna feel pretty low. And to say this is a low point is it's putting it nice. If we're being honest here. Before we even get into this, y'all, first of all, I appreciate you guys making the time to come onto the channel. Really, it is an honor, and I appreciate you guys making the time. You guys can find CPNY Sports, Aaron's channel, Big Blue Corners channel, and YouTube, and Twitter in the description box below. So definitely go over there, hit them with the subscribe button, and follow them as well. Um, let's jump right into this, man. Where do you even begin with this game on Sunday, man? Just 13-10, an ugly game. I feel, for me personally, anytime the Giants play and I see that it's raining, I feel like it's like war flashbacks. I start thinking the worst. My positivity starts to kind of drain a little bit just from, you look at recent history with Giants playing in the rain. Despite all that, I thought this was a winnable game going into this game. And boy, this was unbearable to watch. This was unbearable to watch, man. There was some positives I thought in this game. Obviously, I think we can all agree, with the defense and with Kayvon, but um, I want to get y'all's thoughts because I just there's so many things you can point at as to why the Giants lost this game, but I feel like there might be different reasons for everybody. And I want to start with you, CP. I definitely want to get your thoughts on the Jets and Giants game, and then we can work our way to Aaron and Big Blue Corner. But how are you feeling going into this game, coming out of this game? I really got to hear what you want to say.
Yeah, man. I mean, this game with Terod, I was kind of confident, man, because I was really appreciating the sort of performance that I was seeing out of Terod over the past couple of weeks. I thought the offense was moving very smoothly with him. And we were talking about him feeling blue with Aaron in terms of the whole situation when Daniel Jones was cleared and, to come back, what that situation might look like. Unfortunately, well, I don't say unfortunately, at the time watching the game, I was very happy with the circumstances of Terod getting injured in terms of having Danny DeVito not throw. I would have been happy to have a 10-7 win. It sucks to see Terod going.
I think I think the audio might be a little crackly. It's all good with the technicals. Hey, Aaron, while Chris gets situated, man, how did you feel about this game?
Well, at first I was doing all right because we were, Kayvon had some sacks. We had, Chris's boy Mika McFadden was showing up, grabbing a fumble recovery.
Yeah,
He's been hyping him up, even though I did not like him at all since last year. I thought we were doing all right. I mean, the passing game wasn't there, which I was a little frustrated with because obviously, if you just keep running the ball, they're going to keep stacking 8 in the box.
yeah,
So, I mean, the only positive that I could really see was that Kayvon is finally getting into the sacks, the tackles are. Wink Martindale's finally not using him in pass coverage, but just having him go after the ball. But other than that, that's the only I could really think that was a positive.
yeah. I'm definitely there with you. I mean, first off, Micah McFadden, I think, is really putting himself together a solid season this year. Nice fumble recovery. He always seems to be where the ball is at, which, I mean, it feels good, right? Because we haven't had good linebacking play in quite some time, and seeing how Bobby O is playing, despite that missed tackle on Brees Hall, which war flashbacks again. But Micah McFadden, yeah, he's been playing stout. Obviously Kayvon 3 sacks. I thought he had the game closer. Ultimately it wasn't. But that would have been a very nice way to end that game. And I'm similar. I would have been fine with a 10-7 win for the Giants. I thought they had opportunities to put the game away, and just bad teams find ways to lose. And it's just they find different ways to lose, whether that's through penalties, bad old line play, questionable coaching decisions, just bad tackling. And we saw a mixture of all of that in this game, which resulted to a loss, which, I mean, when your quarterback throws for 8 yards and then your backup is throwing for -1 yards in today's age of football, I mean, that's like unheard of. I mean, that's just it's asinine. It's insane to even think about. Saquon 36 carries for what 100. I got this here 128 yards. I mean, what is this? A game in 1980s? I mean, it's crazy, And for me personally, man, I thought the O line looked lost. I mean, I thought, DeVito, there were some moments, I would have liked to see him take shots downfield, but I don't think this coaching staff really trusted him to do so. And there were some opportunities that he had where he just underthrew, and did not make the plays that we needed him to. Had a nice walk-in touchdown, on a QB sneak, but other than that, I mean, just you can't go into this week against the Raiders with Tommy DeVito as your starting quarterback, and they're not going to. But just an ugly performance by this Giants team. Chris, I know you had some audio cut out. I definitely want to hear what you got to say as well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay,
you're good.
cool. Of course, the audio cuts out as soon as it's my turn to go. I apologize about that. But no, like I said, just to echo on your point, my original point was that seeing how that game was unfolding, given the Tyrod Taylor, injury, and having, DeVito go in there and sort of just act as, just a guy who for handoffs for Saquon the whole entire game because the coaching staff refused to let him throw the ball, which I understand to a certain degree, but at a certain point you gotta let it fly with who you got out there. I would have been more than happy with a 10-7 victory, more than happy. It's unfortunate to see Tyrod go down because after we grabbed that initial very early 3-0 lead, I was starting to feel a little juice. I was like, all right, this can be a game where the Giants go out there and show these guys that, despite all these injuries, despite how the season has gone, that up until that point, that we could have went out there and dominated the game. Unfortunately, we all know what happened. Unfortunately, he goes down. I think he went down with a chest injury, rib injury, went to the hospital. I'm glad to hear that he's been doing okay. I think he was out of practice today, but we'll see how that situation moves forward. But like we were saying before we got on here in the live, we got Danny Dimes back. It's unfortunate, but like I said, this is a really old school game at the end of the day. It was really a battle of what up, Mark? Appreciate you tuning in. It was really a testament of the defensive side on both sides of the ball, both teams. Kayvon Thibodeau, man, I mean, how much crap people gave him over the past couple of weeks. Really happy to see him succeed coming into his own. 3 sacks in the game. Obviously, Sexy Dexy got the 4th sack for the Giants as well, but I really thought that was the game winner. A nice little Euro in and out move on the right tackle for Kayvon on that last sack. I really thought he called game, but they said Dable and his reasonings of not going for it on 4th down, and that wasn't the only time that they had a 4th and short play that I thought they should have went for it in that game. Not showing that confidence in the team and the offense going for those 4th and short situations like he did last season. Ultimately, I think had a little bit to do with the loss too. But as I said, very disappointing. Just mimicking your thoughts on it, very disappointing. The only good thing I can say besides Kayvon Thibodeau is that the Jets really didn't get any ground game going, minus that obviously Brees Hall had that fluke touchdown, a 50-yarder where the Giants just forgot how to tackle yet again. So defense looks solid through and through, and they've put together now 3 straight impressive performances. So we'll see how they are moving forward. But that's it for me.
I mean, excellent point there, man. Excellent point. And honestly, Brees Hall was someone that, for me, I thought the Giants really had to focus in. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is a stud. He had, I think, 100 yards flat, actually, off 7 receptions. Brees Hall, when we see how the Giants' run defense has been this season, it's kind of been hit or miss. There's been some games where it's looked all right. There's some games where the Giants are just getting ran on. Obviously, a lot of the San Francisco game, Arizona. But Brees Hall, outside of, that one break-off touchdown, which, I mean, you talk about bad tackling, you talk about, just what can go wrong will go wrong type of a situation. Beautiful touchdown by him. But other than that, I mean, yeah, the Giants were able to contain Brees Hall. And I thought if there's any, I guess, silver lining, I thought the Giants did, if you will, enough to win that game, but not enough to win that game. And it sucks because this is a team that can't afford to make any mistakes. And this is a team that also can't score touchdowns. So it's like, it feels like they're just, okay, let's run the ball and hope our defense, can, get the ball back and, stall some drives for us. And that's just not sustainable. Rod, man, I want to get your thoughts. How are you feeling, with this Jets game? What were some of your thoughts on
it? My thoughts? Okay, I'll give
Yeah.
you a few. What in the world? I mean, let's just call it what it is. And Mark the Blue Giant, you're absolutely right. And I was actually going to talk about that. He did make some head-scratching play calls. Why are you not going for it on 4th and 1? You just saw what he missed, 2 field goals in the game. You have a chance to just.
Oh, Rodney, I think we lost the audio. We might have. We all just losing audio today. It's all good, man.
Discombobulated today, man.
Oh, we can hear you now, man. You good?
Okay. Where was I? I'm sorry.
No, we were talking about the head scratching plays. 4th and 1, Graham Gano just missed 2 field goals.
Go for it.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Go for it. The second thing, why is it that Tommy DeVito, he's been the backup for 3 weeks, but you don't trust him enough to throw the ball? I don't understand that
point right there.
Why is that kid even on the team if you don't trust him to throw the ball? Kudos to the Giants' run game, because from the start, if I was Robert Saleh and I saw that we couldn't pass, I'm just stacking a box because we can't run, and yet we were still able to run on them. So that says a lot as far as how our run offense was. But there's no excuse for that. Why is this kid on your team if you don't trust him to throw the ball? It makes no sense to me.
Well, they did sign Matt Barkley to the practice squad, so they trust him.
I thought that he came in and they didn't even show him any of the playbook or anything. I mean, why is he even on the team if you're not even doing that?
Exactly.
It's like I said, it's a lot of head scratching come with a lot of the decision that's going on right now. As far as the defense goes, the defense, in my opinion, are playing lights out. You can't ask them to play any better. Wink has got them playing at a very high level. You got Sexy Dexy in the middle. I mean, he is killing it right now. As far as an interior defensive lineman, I think he's tied with Bosa right now for the most pressures in the NFL. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Kayvon is lighting it up. And to all those haters out there that was literally giving him, well, I'm not going to say it, but just giving him crap just for the simple fact you claim he's not showing up. The kid showed up. He showed up. And if he continues on this trajectory that he is, I mean, he could be looking at literally 15, 16, 17 sacks this season if he continues on the trajectory that he is. As far as I'm concerned, the Jets were giving this game away. They literally were just saying, here, we want you to win. Go ahead, take it. It's yours. And we just couldn't do it for obvious reasons. The offense cannot score a touchdown. One, two, has no consistency on the O line. Three, outside of Tyrod and the couple, the last 2-3 games he's been playing, and also that Arizona game, our offense is literally non-existent. Literally non-existent. So the regression that we're literally watching. We should have expected this for the simple fact the teams have tape on us now. Everything from last season, not necessarily a fluke, but nobody knew what Brian Dable was going to run, Mike Kafka was going to run, but they know now. So it's time for those guys to get the Giants, as far as the offense is concerned, in a better position to make plays. And if not, we can, if you want to call the season a wrap at this point, you can. I still think that there's hope for this team if they can get it right. And I need Daniel Jones to step up and be that leader, not only in the locker room, not only in front of the media, but also on that field. Those guys going to follow you regardless of the fact you got to step up and be that leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I feel like that ties in perfectly, with what Jaden said here. Jones has to win this game. His career is on the line. I will say, Jaden, I mean, I unless I feel, he puts on a good, 9 games here. I mean, if the Giants have an opportunity to draft his replacement, I feel they may, and I feel like they will. But yeah, I mean, I feel the stage is set for Daniel Jones right now. You may possibly get Andrew Thomas back and Evan Neal, so you get your 2 pillar offensive tackles back. The offensive line is playing a little bit better than when Jones was last in the lineup. I'm really excited to see players like Slayton get more involved, Wandale. I think we will see a heavy dose of Wandale with Waller being out now, but this offense has to be better than what we've seen. And I know that may be a lot to ask for from this team, because we're asking them to do something that they haven't really done this year outside of one half against the Cardinals. And that's put a competent offense on the field, score some points, and actually look like an NFL team. This defense is doing more than enough to keep this team in games, to really bounce off your point. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon, they're playing at, in my opinion, very high levels. I think we can all agree there. Dexter Lawrence is, continuing to play at an all-pro level. If Kayvon continues to progress the way that he's progressing, he's looking at possibly a Pro Bowl year. Like you said, Rod, possibly 16 sacks, the first double-digit sack defender in Wink's system. It sucks to see how this team is playing offensively, and then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and there's a lot of different bright spots. Outside of those two, I thought Cordell Flott had a pretty solid game against the Jets. If anything, I thought that was more of a reason to move Adoree Jackson. You're letting the young guys get some more time in. Cordell's looked pretty solid this season in certain areas. Trey Hawkins as well. Jason Pinnock, I thought, had a pretty decent game. He had a nice couple pass breakups. Again, you talk about Micah McFadden. There's talent on this team, and there's talent on this defense, I feel, to keep this offense in the game. And if we can at least get the Daniel Jones that we saw last year, and I feel like you look at the next couple games. Who, if I pull this up here, because I know we were talking about it a little bit before the stream. You got the Raiders this week. You got Dallas next week, Washington the week after, New England, Green Bay, New Orleans, Philly, LA, and then Philly again. If we can even see somewhat of a operable offense, and if this defense can just continue to progress in the way that they're progressing, yeah, I'm with y'all. I do think that the season isn't fully over. Where right now it feels like, okay, yeah, let's just get through each week, and hopefully we can win. If not, it's a higher draft selection for us. But this team can still turn it around if we can at least get somewhat of an offense going, because we can't keep putting up 3 points, 7 points at best, 10 points here. I mean, it's just not sustainable in today's NFL.
Was that a little pun that you threw in there? I saw that you said the Giants may draft Daniel Jones' successor. We're talking about Drake May here. I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
See,
I'm just saying.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Now there was no
Yeah,
pun,
man.
but I mean,
You never know,
you
man. No,
never
I
know,
completely agree
man.
with you though, to the point. Like, imagine the stage is set. Like, the Giants are 2-6, but you just listed off those opponents, and we were talking about it here before. Like, obviously, everything is pointing to the fact that the way the Giants have been playing, there's no playoffs in sight for this team. But these opponents, you look at them, you get your starting QB back. Can he take you there? And I think that the stage is definitely set for Daniel Jones. So I 100% agree with that. But is it likely? I'm not getting my hopes up, man. I don't think anybody should.
Yeah, I'm there with you, bro. I mean, is it likely? Probably not. But with how the NFL is, obviously anything can happen. And again, we're asking the team to do something that they haven't done all year outside of one half against the Arizona Cardinals. Don't get me wrong; they looked decent. If not, I thought they looked pretty stout against the Bills. But at the same time, man, it, you just gotta hope that this offense can get something going. You have Saquon in there. Against again, the O line is getting healthier. Yeah, Waller being out of the mix is definitely a big blow to this offense. I wonder if Cager gets elevated, or maybe we see more Tommy Sweeney. I don't know, but we can't see the product that we've been seeing, the last 2 weeks on offense. It's not going to get it done. And it sucks because we had we had a lot of expectations on this team going into this year, and it's just been an embarrassment, if you will. At least for me, it's been an embarrassment, because I had this team going 11-6. So to see that we're 2-6 right now, I don't see them winning 9 straight here. Maybe in an alternate universe, but I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not the
Jaden,
07 Giants.
maybe 9-8. If you're a betting man, I mean, sure, but nah. If we're being
Yeah,
honest here, Jaden, I don't know.
man.
I'm not sure.
I'm curious to get y'all's thoughts though on this. Like we saw, to Rodney's point, like we knew that the league had never seen what the Giants were doing last season. That's a great point, and we knew that they probably overachieved to what we all thought they were going to be last season, getting into the playoffs, finishing over 500, and actually winning a playoff game. I think my whole point in terms of when I started making some Giants content, on my podcast was that we just wanted to go into this season and see progression. But no one legitimately thought that this team was still, was going to be automatically contenders in year 2 of this regime. That's just not realistic. And I think that having overachieved last season put an unrealistic expectation within this fan base. Now, I'm not saying that what we've seen on the field so far this season is acceptable, but I just want to play devil's advocate here, devil's advocate here on the other side of things and say this team still was never supposed to be a contender this year. So I get that everyone's expectations were up and we're not seeing that progression. But on the flip side of things, it does make it hard when you're Brian Dable and Joe Shane to take a roster like they did in year 1, overachieve, and then now they're sort of in limbo and a little bit of a stalemate. So I understand that. My fear going into year 3 of Dable, because we know Dable and Shane are not going anywhere. Can they bounce back? Like, is this a fluke year for them, or are they going to bounce back? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm wondering.
Well, we did trade Leonard Williams, so that gives us $6 million cap space.
Yeah,
So
actually, how are you guys feeling about that trade? Because I mean, to get a second and a fifth back for Leonard
steal.
Williams, dude. I mean, shout
That's a
out Joe
good haul.
Shane, man. Shout out Joe Shane for real.
Yeah, that was a good haul for what he got back. I mean, think about what we gave up to get him.
Very true.
We actually
Very
got
true.
more in return for letting him go. I think the key to the Leonard Williams trade is how is this defensive line going to play now with him not there? How is Dexter Lawrence going to play with him not being there? Now you got Ashawn, you got Nacho, you got, I believe, DJ Davidson. He's healthy, and I think Jordan Riley. That's what we have to see. Lenny But Leonard Williams complemented Dexter Lawrence in many different ways. Now his stats may not back it up as far as this season, but he's been consistently good. Barring outside the fact of him, hurt a little bit last year. He showed up. He's here practically every game. But I think the key is how Dexter Lawrence is going to play now without Leonard Williams next to him. That's the key to this whole trade.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something to think about, because when you have someone like Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams as your duo, I mean, that's a mismatch, that almost any team would want in their interior. Now you remove Leonard Williams, how does other teams operate when they play the Giants? Do they just double team Dex and that leaves one on ones, for the rest of the defensive line? We'll see there. But I'm very excited to see more of Ashawn Robinson. I mean, Raheem Nunez Roches, I mean, I like him, but I'm not really expecting much from him. Nice depth, nice rotation. Jordan Riley, I'd love to see more action from him, see what you got in the rook. But, based off of what David was saying today, I don't know. It seems like we'll see a lot more Ashawn Robinson, which I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at it. I mean, he's in my opinion, I think he's a starter in this league. Is he Leonard Williams? No. But at the same time, you got to hope that the defensive line doesn't take a dip or a drastic dip. They're going to take a dip regardless, but you got to hope that they don't take a drastic dip and that teams, exploit the Giants interior, because Leonard could get to the quarterback, but he was also fairly decent in the run game as well, and that helped our linebackers, and when you have, again, guys like Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, that's going to help your linebackers a lot. I mean, I feel like having those two there, that's a linebacker's dream, so having him not in the conversation is going to be very interesting, to see how teams, approach, this Giants defensive line. Will we see them, run the ball a lot more on us? Will they? I'm very interested to see, how this really pans out. But yeah, you can't be mad, Mark. A second and a 5. I mean, even if they don't trade up, to have 2 seconds, I mean, that's, to me, that's wonderful, because we have positions of need that we really need to address going into this offseason. I'd love to pick up another edge rusher. I'd love to pick up another corner, a CB2. I love Trey Hawkins, but at the same time, I'd love to get, a nice stout corner in this draft. So, yeah, no, I mean, you can't be mad at it. You can't be mad at it at all.
And let's not forget that year one of this regime's draft was as good as you can probably get across the board in terms of the value you got at each pick. I mean, up and down the board. The way that this team is trending in each position group in terms of youth, I think the primary group that you see out of that is definitely defensive backs outside of Adoree Jackson, which is why I'm surprised he wasn't moved. When you look at Deontay Banks, even Xavier McKinney, Pinnox 24, Cordell Flat, these guys are all, early to mid 20s. You're starting to get more youth in the wide receiver group with Hyatt and Wandale Robinson. I know we have those vets on 1-year deals that are going to be expiring. Dexter Lawrence is still only 25. Micah McFadden is 23. Jordan Riley's still a rookie. Like, this team, like, I get that we're 2-6 right now, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that this regime just knocked out a draft. We have now more draft assets coming up for them to work their magic with, and collectively on both sides of the ball, we're getting younger. And this is the same thing I'm saying with this with my New York Knicks team. It's like, I want my teams to get progressively younger, and I think the Giants are starting to actually build into that. And I think it's a slow process, and not many people are realizing what's going on behind the scenes in terms of where this team's going to be at youth-wise in the couple of seasons. But it's working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Excellent point there, man. And honestly, you look at the players that they have drafted. Yeah, in terms of value, I mean, I think a lot of fans, if not most of the fan base, was jumping up and down getting Kayvon and Evan Neal last year. And then you look this year, JMS. I mean, great value there. Hyatt, that was great value there as well. And Deontay Banks. I mean, I think him and Joey Porter are really showing, like they're the real deal. They are the real deal. And in my honest opinion, man, I think I think a lot of people will point to how Joe Shane is in terms of trading. I think he's very good in that respect. We've seen what he's been able to do, in terms of trading. But I've always felt it's maybe a wait and see with Joe Shane in terms of the draft process. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Cordell Flott, I mean, I had some concerns with him going into this year. It seemed like, in training camp, there wasn't too many positive reports on Cordell. And, he had some pretty solid, games this year where I'm saying to myself, okay, he's looking better than Darnay. If God forbid something happens to Adoree, I feel confident having him out there, and you got to give credit, to this organization, for being able to find talent in that position as well, because I think we can all agree drafting corners has been a struggle for this team for quite some time. And being able to pick up Flott, Deontay Banks, and on top of that, Trey Hawkins, I mean, in 2 drafts, and you potentially have, some solid pieces alone right there in your secondary. Let's not even talk about, them getting Pinnock in free age, from the Jets. Or you also look at, some people kind of questioned the Bobby O signing, and while that's not drafting, some people questioned it, and he's looking stout. He's looking very stout. So Joe Shane, I mean, it's his first time being a general manager, but I'm trying not to be too hard on him. I am aware, and obviously there are things that you can critique him for, but at the same time, I'm not too upset with where this team is going. There's some core pieces on this team, and I don't think, despite the record, we're as bad as that record shows. And I might be in the minority there. I might just be a homer, as the kids call me. So,
No, I
but
agree with you, man. I agree with you 100%.
definitely, man. Let's transition, man, into the Raiders portion of it. Josh McDaniels fired in the middle of the night, kind of woken up out of his cell. I don't know if you guys seen that. What's it called? That one show where the kids get scared straight and they walk into the jail cell and they start waking them up in the middle of their sleep. Josh McDaniels, yeah, and their general manager fired. Former Giants linebacker and current Raiders linebacker coach Antonio Pierce will be elevated as the interim coach. And you have him plus Patrick Graham coming back. A little bit of a revenge game, if you will. I think that is a little interesting, to see, Antonio Pierce get the nod and not Patrick Graham, but I wonder how he's kind of feeling. But the Giants are 2.5-point underdogs going into this game, which is wild considering that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be going to the bench. Aiden O'Connell is going to be playing. They just fired their head coach, and we're still 2.5-point underdogs. Wild times. I got to be honest with y'all. I think despite the performance that we saw against the Jets, this is a game that the Giants should win. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but this should be a game the Giants should win. You get Daniel Jones back. Again, potentially getting Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas back, potentially. Their defense is very suspect. It can be had. Our defense right now is playing at a high level. But I think that this is a winnable game. On the flip side, obviously the Raiders, they might play with a little bit of fire in their gut, trying to get a win for their new head coach. But how are you guys feeling going into this game? I mean, are you guys feeling okay going into this game? Are there some concerns of yours going into this game?
I feel like we're gonna lose because this is what we do against backup quarterbacks that we know nothing about. We've seen it with Cooper Rush. Let's see, like the Nate Sudfelds of the world, Nick Mullins. For some reason, we just cannot defeat those type of quarterbacks. And I have no idea why. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest. And I feel like Antonio Pierce is going to unleash Devontae Adams because he is just pissed off that he's not getting any touches for the Raiders. So I think he might go off. But if we get everyone healthy, I think it'll be a tough game. But I don't know. New coach, like you just said, new coach. They have a fire in their gut. I've seen it on other teams where new coaches come in and they just dominate the first game. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough one.
You know what's beautiful about this game moving forward? Because both teams are in a similar situation in that They have nothing to lose, man. They have nothing to lose moving
Facts.
forward. So they might as well just lay it all on the line. Listen, the one thing that I'm scared about, I'm going to tell you this. I haven't bet on the Giants many times this season, and for obvious reasons. But I'm going to take that -2.5 or the +2.5 there for the Giants because I really do think that the Giants win this game, to be honest with you. I just can't see them not winning this game. There's no reason to. The only thing that worries me is that the whole situation, and it's a little sketchy, the timeline of Daniel Jones's clearance for contact with this whole situation with his neck injury. Disc injuries are no joke. I know that Daniel Jones had a neck injury before, and it's rough because you're taking so many hits back there. We know how many times Daniel Jones has gotten sacked. But at the end of the day, you get your starting quarterback back. You got to have the guys around you confident. It's not like the Giants haven't been in these ball games. That's the key with this season. It's like maybe outside of that Dallas game, maybe towards the tail end of that San Fran game, and this obviously the Seahawks game. Every other single game, and even they played San Fran close for 3 quarters. The Giants are in these ball games. They're beating themselves, right? They're beating themselves in these ball games, which is so frustrating because the Giants could be what? They're 2-6 now. In my mind, they could be definitely 4-4.
For sure. For sure.
The season would be a whole bit different ball game. I tweeted that out a couple days ago. It's just like I truly feel like that. So I just can't see a Raiders team that's so in flux right now with everything going on in that organization with the rookie quarterback going there and beating the Giants who are getting their starting quarterback back. I just can't see it. But like you said, we are Giants fans. Anything has happened, so I don't want to get my hopes up. But I will put my money where my mouth is, and I'll take that +2.5 for the Giants.
I
Yeah, I
wouldn't
might do
blame
the
you
same
there,
thing
man.
too. I might have to do the same thing there, Chris. I think the key to this game is stopping Max Crosby from wreaking havoc in the backfield. And that's going to be whoever that right tackle is, whether it be Evan Neal, Tyree Phillips, a combination of those two with Daniel Bellinger. You got to be able to contain Max Crosby. The other thing is don't let Devontae Adams go off because once he gets going, that's it. They're gonna find ways of trying to get him the ball. You know, for whatever reason, last few weeks he has not been getting barely any targets. I think last week he had what, one target?
Yep.
One target. And you saw how upset he was on the sideline. I don't know if you guys watched the ESPN Sports Center. He was upset. So you know that they're going to look at our defense and they're like, you know what? These guys aren't really doing much on offense. Keep the defense on the field, tire them out, and let's take advantage of that. We got to show up. Our offense has got to show up. Again, I think the key to that game is you got to establish the run with Barkley early, but you also got to take advantage of the fact that if you can contain Max Crosby from wreaking havoc, you at least have a chance and throw the ball deep.
Yes.
Set
Preach.
the tone of this game early. Throw the ball. Even if you don't complete it, give yourself an opportunity to win this game in the manner that practically every other team is doing it, throwing the ball. Throw deep, throw outside the numbers, whatever the case may be. Make the Raiders defense respect the fact that you are able to at least complete a pass that is not at the sticks. You had the speed. You got Wandale, you got Hyatt. Use it. I mean, there's really nothing more I can really say about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And you don't have to throw the ball hard. You know how Daniel just he throws it super hard. It's like a 3-yard pass. Like, dude, you don't have to throw it that hard. If he doesn't do that, that's fine too.
no one throws the ball harder than Cam Newton in short distance. Uh,
That's
but
fine.
no, I just had to get that out there. But no, you're right though. And to even further your point there, Rod. I mean, I think another player that we're all kind of, I don't want to say overlooking, but he can easily take over this game as well is Josh
Josh
Jacobs.
Jacobs.
I mean, he's a beast of his own. I mean, and we've seen again, teams been able to have their way with us in terms of the run game. Maybe not of recent. We were able to contain Brees Hall, but at the same time, if Josh Jacobs gets rolling and he gets hot, I mean, he's a player that he could pick up big chunk yards. He could really tire out this Giants defense, who now does not have a Leonard Williams in their rotation. So yeah, I mean, the Giants are going to have their hands full. Don't get me wrong. And whoever is at right tackle, Rodney, whether that's Evan Neal, whether that's at Tyree Phillips, I don't care if they put Justin Pugh there. They have to be able to contain Max Crosby, because if not, I mean, I am praying for Daniel Jones, man. I am really praying for Daniel Jones. And obviously he's been cleared, so I'm not a doctor, but I'm already worrying for him in terms of his life after football. I don't want to see that man in Andrew Luck type of a situation, let alone see him in a wheelchair, due to the game of football. So you've already had 2 neck injuries. You're going against one of the best to do it at his position recently in Max Crosby. So I gotta hope that if Evan Neal is playing, he comes back right. Because if not, it's going to be a long game for this Giants team. And yeah, I agree. They have to be able to take shots downfield. I mean, with Daniel Jones being back, you saw Tyrod being able to achieve it. I think, to me at least, you got to be able to take shots downfield. You have the speedsters and Hyatt, Darius Slayton as well. With Waller being out, I expect Wandale to kind of be that security blanket. There's really no excuse. You're 2-6. You have nothing else to lose, if not but your job. Take advantage of the opponent across from you, who at this point right now is pretty much in the same boat, like you stated earlier there, Chris. They have nothing to lose either. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. I'm interested to see, the Banks and Devontae Adams matchup. Does Adams, does he take Banks to school like he usually does with, the corners that he's lined up against? Or does, the streak of what's going on with the Raiders continue, where Devontae doesn't get those targets and Banks has himself a pretty solid game, and, he's not really put under that kind of a light with Devontae. I'm interested to see how that plays out, man, because again, this Raiders team, they have weapons in themselves, but they're just not a good team. They are not a good team.
No, they're not a good team. I want to revisit what Rodney and you both echoed in terms of taking shots downfield, because we saw it with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod was able to do it. Daniel Jones, for the most part, besides that Arizona game, has not. Why is that the case? Has the offensive line played a little bit, maybe a tad, a smidge better with Tyrod Taylor under center compared to Daniel Jones? Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like, oh, it's 9-day difference. Maybe, right? It's not like they started performing, better overnight. So what does Tyrod Taylor do, and why was he able to get the ball downfield? He manipulated the pocket very well in the face of pressure. He was not escaping the pocket as soon as someone got in his face. He moved laterally, keeping his eyes up and letting his receivers get an extra second or 2 on their route, and was able to just glide that ball over. Daniel Jones can do the same thing, but the thing is that when Daniel, and I don't blame him, maybe there's some PTSD going on, maybe he's a little scared with all these injuries, I'm not sure. That's why I'm not confident that we will see Daniel Jones be able to get the ball down the field, unfortunately. But if he can stay in that pocket instead of just scrambling. What up, Darius? Shout out my man Darius, always tuning in, supporting. If Daniel Jones can just stay in that pocket like Tyrod Taylor did for those 2 games wherever he played, maybe we can finally start to see him get that ball downfield. But if he's just gonna run on the whim, and trust me, I'm not trying to mitigate. I'm not trying to tell Danny not to run. Danny legs, he's got legs for a reason. He's great. Do what you do there. But stay in there a little bit longer and try to manipulate that pocket just like Tyrod Taylor does, and you'll find some unfound success there. That's my thought.
I agree with you there, man. And it's not that Daniel Jones can't. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people expected, Daniel Jones to be playing the way that he had, prior to his injury this year. I myself felt pretty confident that with these additional weapons added to the offense, that he would take that next step forward, given that he had more put on his plate. Obviously, that has not really come to fruition. But I'm hoping that we could see a fired up, motivated Daniel Jones. Who I'm sure. Listen, these players say that they don't listen and they don't pay attention to the internet. They're not on there. I know that there are some that genuinely don't, but he has to be hearing, the noise. You just signed a contract. The team right now is 2-6 in position to draft your replacement. The offense seems, pretty decent under Tyrod compared to when Daniel Jones was in the lineup. And in my honest opinion, I think Tyrod is a better Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor. He has to be able to, and I think that again, the stage has been set up for Daniel Jones going into this game. To get your team a win. You have another week. Going against the Dallas Cowboys, who that's if not a top 3, top 2 defense in this league. Go out there and get yourself a win, because if not, the chatter is only going to get louder. It's only going to get louder, especially if the Giants leave this game being 2-7. At that point, I mean, I don't know what Jones would be able to do to really have this organization look him in the straight face and not draft his replacement if they're in the position to, especially if you lose to the Raiders, who don't have a head coach right now, let alone a quarterback. So, yeah, nah. But contain Max Crosby. Don't let Josh Jacobs run all over you. And I'm maybe I'm crazy. I'm not too worried about Devontae. I know that Devontae's him. I'm not saying that he's not him. He is him. But I'm looking at who's throwing him the ball too. And I don't know. I'm really liking Wink, going against that offense. I think Wink is one of those coaches that demands respect. I think that, week in and week out, he shows with this defense that, this defense is for real. They're only a couple pieces away from being an elite defense, whether that's a CB2, whether you could say another linebacker, you could say another edge rusher. They're close. They're playing at a high level right now. And, the Raiders' offensive line isn't that good either. They're not horrible, but they're not that great either. So, I expect to see, the same old defense that we're seeing, right now. Obviously, without Leonard Williams, it might be a little bit different, but I'm not expecting them to just fall off of a cliff, with Leonard Williams being out of the mix. Because even last year, the defense looked pretty decent when Leonard Williams was injured. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one, though. I think it's going to be a fun game, a very winnable game, but not if the Giants keep playing the way that they are offensively. Nah. I don't think so, man. But yeah, nah. I mean, I think for me, man, that's all I've really got to say, man. I mean, the Giants go out there, they're 2.5-point underdogs. That's sad. That's actually kind of embarrassing, but I'm expecting a win. Do y'all got any score predictions going into this game? I know it's hard. I know it's hard.
If I had to, I would probably go like 16-14. I'll pick the Giants on this one, but 16-14.
Both
I'll go 2017 Giants win. Cover the spread, give me my money. But in a perfect world, they win by more than 3. But we'll see what happens. But like you said, Dan Jones gonna be feeling the pressure. If he's not feeling the pressure from Twitter, every time he hops on that Kay Adams podcast, she's gonna tell him about it. So
shout out Kay Adams.
I'll say the same thing. 2017. I mean, they got to figure out a way to score. So unless the defense is scoring those points, the offense has got to figure out a way to score. Period. End the conversation and the story. That offensive line, they got to galvanize each other in some aspect or the other to be able to play better, to give Daniel Jones that time. And Chris, you're right. He's got to be able to manipulate that pocket. If not the same way as Tyrod, better than that, to be able to give the Giants an opportunity to win this game. So I'll say 2017. I got the Giants winning, of course. I'm not going to sit there and pick someone else, pick the Raiders, regardless of the fact. The question that I got for you guys is this. How do you think Wink is going to play Devontae Adams? Do you think he's gonna give him? Do you think Devontae Adams is gonna see a lot of one-on-one with Deontay Banks, or do you think they're gonna bracket him?
Hmm. Well, before I answer
I
your
think we'll see
question,
one on one.
I agree with you, man. I just want to say I agree with you, Darius. We do love Miss K Adams.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Shout out K.
Not to interrupt you, Chris. You gotta continue. My fault. I just have to say that real quick.
No, I was just saying early in the game, I think that we'll see definitely one-on-one coverage from Deontay just to see what how they stack up. From that point forward, you got to bring over safety help if Devontae Adams is starting to cook Deontay Banks. I mean, whether it's McKinney or Pinnock don't really matter at this point. I trust Pinnock a little bit, a little bit more, sadly, than Xavier McKinney because I love Jason Pinnock. He's one of my favorite Giants. But yeah, I think we see that press, that hard nosed press coverage. See how Deontay Banks fares. I know that it's not a smart idea to play press coverage on a star wide receiver, but I want to see that happen because the only we're only gonna get an evaluation of Deontay Banks if we see that kind of coverage, and he's been holding up his own. I know Garrett Wilson just put up 100 on him, a little bit of a lackadaisical game, but I've been loving what I've been seeing out of Deontay Banks, and he's been proving to us, at least me, in my opinion, that he can hang with the rest of them. So I think early on in the game, to answer your question, Rodney, that they play that press one-on-one with Deontay, see how he fares. And I agree with you, Chris, that, I'm more scared of Josh Jacobs in this game than Devontae Adams, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think eventually, if he does start cooking Deontay Banks one-on-one, you got to bring safety help over the top. And that's how I think
I'm actually scared for Michael Mayer. We haven't been able to block tight ends in like forever.
You got a point there. But I think Xavier McKinney can hold his own against Michael Mayer, if we're being honest with you. But to answer your question, Rod, I think they might leave that responsibility just to Deontay Banks. I think, don't get me wrong. I mean, there was some, moments in the Jets game, where I'm kind of scratching my head, with Deontay, but let the rookie grow. He's going to experience some rookie pains, and what better way for him to really get acclimated than going against one of the league's best? You can make an argument the league's best, when he's healthy, and Devontae Adams. For me, I'm actually really excited to see that matchup. You know, I it's hard. It's hard. It's hard because Devontae is him, and I'm really banking on Aiden O'Connell just not getting him the ball. But at the same time, man, I'm trying to be realistic. I could see safety help. I really could, but at the same time, nah, I'm gonna roll my gut. I think they're gonna leave him one on one.
But
I
that's why
think
they
they're gonna
drafted
leave
him
him
though,
one on
because
one.
he was good one-on-one in college at Maryland.
Yeah, and Devontae's not a speedster. He's a route technician, but he's definitely a more physical wide receiver. But Deontay Banks is a physical corner. So, I think that will be a very solid matchup, nice, little competition there. But, there's going to be times where, Devontae's going to get his wins, because he's him at the end of the day. But there's also going to be times where I feel, Deontay is going to come away with a couple himself. And I could see potentially Deontay Banks getting another interception, in this game going against Aiden O'Connell. The rookie, I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought he looked pretty decent in preseason, but Wink knows how to take advantage of quarterbacks. And what better way to take advantage of a quarterback than a rookie quarterback, who hasn't experienced a Wink Martindale defense yet, who can draw up different blitz packages, who can, show one thing, have another thing. So for me, man, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident that this defense, can hold its own against, the Raiders offense. For me, it's just coming down to the Giants offense. I know I didn't get my prediction, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the Giants win this game 24-14. I think with Daniel Jones, man, I think he plays with, a fire under his ass. I think, this offense, puts up more points than what we've seen in recent weeks. I think we've had opportunities, to really get in the end zone, whether it's penalties, whether it's coaching decisions, whether it's the offensive line not holding up, we just haven't. But I think you input Daniel Jones back in, that's a touchdown in itself right there. And I don't know. I think you look at that secondary for the Raiders, and they're very suspect. They can be had, they can be thrown on, and with Saquon being in the mix, they're gonna definitely keep their eyes on Saquon. I expect to see Daniel Jones. I don't really expect to see him run the ball a lot, but I do expect to see him get the ball out quick. So I'm expecting to see a lot of Wandale, a lot of Darius Slayton, getting in the mix here. So I think the Giants win this game 24-14. I might be crazy, but that's just how I'm feeling right there. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys stopping by, Darius. But no, we gonna end it here, man. I appreciate everyone stopping by, taking the time. Really does mean a lot. You guys can find CPNY Sports, the TMS podcast, and the Big Blue Corners YouTube and Twitter in the description box below. Definitely go over them, give them a follow. They make great Giants content. So definitely do yourself a favor. Do y'all have anything you guys want to say to the people before we head out?
I just want to say appreciate everyone that was in the live stream, everybody that follows all of us, subscribes to all of us. TMS will be on tonight at 9 if anyone wants to join on that live stream. We talk about everything, so we answer all questions and comments. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Definitely, man, definitely.
Yeah, just to reiterate, sorry, Rodney, cut you off. Just reiterate Aaron's point. Thank you so much for having us on. This is a blast. Hopefully, we get to do it again. Feeling Blue Giants content on my podcast, my channel. My co-host Aaron here to my side. We do Giants content, so tap in with us. Definitely, shoot us some comments. If anyone wants to hop on the live stream, I know we had Chris earlier on. We got to bring you back on. But definitely appreciate everyone's time. And let's go Giants. Hopefully get a win. Hopefully make me some money. And let's go Giants. I mean, other than that, all I gotta say is shout out Kay Adams. But yeah, I appreciate you having us.
Shout out Kay Adams, man. Rodney, you got anything else you want to say before we head out?
Oh shoot. Nice meeting you, Aaron. Nice meeting you, Chris, below me. And by all means, his squad, it's always a pleasure coming on your streams. I took a bit of a hiatus from doing streams. I had a lot of little personal issues going on, but other than that, I will be back. I will be putting out more content, new content, and also follow me on Twitter. I'll be putting out some stuff on Twitter as well. But thanks everybody for stopping through.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And I can't wait to see that content. I know it's going to be great. Chris, Aaron, keep up the great work. I'll definitely stop by. But yeah, man, give these guys a follow. Do yourself a favor. And we'd love to have you guys on again. But let's try to get this win here. I agree with you, Darius. Jones needs to win to get his confidence back. I expect to win. And yeah, let's go Giants, man. Appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.
Let's go Giants.